Hey y'all, it's Kira,
John,
Rachel,
Caitlin,
Dave,
Hunter,
Jake,
Clara,
and you're listening to the
Peercast,
Peercast, featuring the BA reps.
your one-stop shop for everything UMTAD.
Hey y'all, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this episode. So this is kind of a funky episode. We've got some changes to keep you on your toes this week. John, our king, will not be joining us, unfortunately, but we have another special guest, and I can't stop giddily smiling to welcome Rachel. Rachel, hey!
hello. Hi, everyone. My name's Rachel. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the design tech up here, and I also am the editor of this podcast, so you actually get to hear my voice instead of me just sadly editing together all the audio clips. So.
Cutting out all of John and I's goofiness. That too. All right. Rachel, how are you doing today? How are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. Let's see, is there anything exciting? Before this, I was setting up speakers for our audio technology class. It's a little wild because I'm in the class, but I also work for Montana. So I set up everything that we're going to do in the class, and then I do it in the class, and then I take it down the next day. So it's double everything, but it's good. It's good.
That's awesome. Wow. Montana's so great. I love Montana.
I love Montana. All right. So to get us started, we just want to share some mental health resources as it gets colder and darker. Seasonal depression is here, and election anxiety and COVID anxiety, it's all here. So I just wanted to share with you guys some resources that we have through the University of Minnesota. So Boynton has their mental health scheduling. They're doing telehealth right now, and you do have to be in the state of Minnesota just for licensing, but your student services fees should cover all charges, but you do have to have health insurance. The other counseling service you have as a U of M student is UMN Student Counseling Services, and that is free to all U of M students, and you also do not need insurance. So if you're looking to talk to somebody, but you're worried about your parents finding out because you have to give them your insurance or just the cost, this is a really good resource, and they have walk-in appointments, and they're really, really fantastic. And then there's also the BIPOC Mental Health Collective, which if you're looking for a therapist who's a little bit more specific to things that you have going on, they'd be a really good resource. And then there's also the DRC homepage, which is the Disability Resource Center. And I think a misconception about them is they don't just do physical disabilities, they do mental health as well. So if you are really struggling with things, you can contact them, and they'll help you communicate with your professors about if you need extensions on assignments, and just kind of navigating those more professional relationships with your mental health. So they're really fantastic.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rachel, for those. So another thing we wanted to share with you this week, if you're looking for any supplemental classes, anything kind of spicy and fun, the Guthrie Theater does virtual classes, and a lot of them are really, really cool. I have done a couple of them, and my favorite is It Will Always Be Slay with Brian Bose. He is just incredible, and he hosts, he instructs a class called the Slay Workshop, and it is exactly what it sounds like. There's no dance experience required. Just come to feel sexy and in your body and just empowered. It's an incredible class. And Brian actually, so he did a TED Talk in January, and I watched it, of course, last night as I was preparing for this podcast. And he said something I just have to share with you. He said, "I know what you want me to be, but I'm going to show you exactly who I am." And that's where we end Good night. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. But they also have, so the Guthrie also offers musical theater audition workshops. If you weren't able to get into the dance for musical theater class this semester, this would be a great one. These are happening November 1st and 8th with China Berkeley and Andrea Mieslam, who are Twin Cities actors. And China is from Chicago and Andrea is from New York. So that'd be a great one. There's also a self-tape workshop in November with Jennifer Leastman, and she's the casting director of the Guthrie. So that would be a very good connection just to have in general.
You make the tape in her workshop and then just like give it right back to her.
Right. And then you're on her radar, which is kind of crazy. That's kind of how it works, like in a lot of ways. And then we're casting Cabaret, which unfortunately wasn't able to happen. That's kind of what went on. I mean, a lot of casting directors, a lot of that job is reaching out to people and researching actors who would be good for it. So you just want to be pro tip as like on casting directors' radar as much as possible. Don't be afraid to send in those resumes or self-tapes. And so if you need to learn how to make one, this would be a great opportunity. There's also, the Guthrie also does voiceover classes. So when we had Serena on a few episodes ago, she mentioned that taking classes is a great first step just to make sure that you have all of the kind of means to do everything and, what a demo reel is and how to make it great. So that'd be great. They are, disclaimer, just a tiny bit expensive for the average college student, but it's getting to that time of year. My mom just texted me. She's like, hey, do you have an idea of what you want for Christmas? And this would be a great option. Honestly, I might be like, yeah, actually, can I take this class? And so, yeah, that's something cool, something fun. Of course, if you're overloaded with classes right now, don't even worry about it. They're around all year forever. So, well, maybe not forever, but they've been around for a long time. So they'll be around for a long time.
Yay. Our next update is that we're having our liquid hour this week. So join us at 5:30 on Friday. It's really fun. I don't know if you know this, Kira, but the last liquid hour, we ended at 6, but then a lot of people stayed until 6:30 and we just kept talking. Yeah, it was really fun. So it's so casual. It's so much fun. We're just chatting about how the semester is going. So come see our faces. We want to see you.
That's so good. What game did you play last week?
We actually didn't even end up playing a game. We did these elevator chats, which came out of Doug's intimacy collab, but it's where you just go in a breakout room with another person and you have 2 minutes, if you're on an elevator with someone, and then you just talk about whatever you want and then you all get sent back. So it's fun. It's a fun way to meet new people without having the pressure of how am I gonna have a full conversation with them.
That's brilliant. Low stakes. Yeah.
Low stakes.
Sounds like fun. I can't wait till I'm not working on a Friday and can come. All right. So another hour, happy hour, not a liquid hour probably for this one, but a happy hour that's happening that you can attend is through Northrop. They're doing a happy hour with Andrea Miller, who's the artistic director of Galim, and they're having a featured guest, Michelle Durance, who's the artistic director of Durance Dance, which is kind of a big deal. That would be really cool to see. And so that's happening tomorrow, actually, the 21st from 5 to 6. So if you just have an open block of time and you're like, well, let's go talk to Michelle over here, that would be so cool. It's free and open to the public as always not as always, but as recently with Northrop. Just make sure you register through Northrop ahead of time, and it'll be a live streamed happy hour conversation about the evolving field of dance and the arts. And it is evolving a lot. So this might be an incredible kind of conversation to witness.
Do you know, is it like a seminar or do you get to be part of the conversation? Do you know?
It looks like it's more of a Q&A kind of style, actually. Oh. But maybe it's Andrea asking Michelle questions, and then maybe they have a Q&A for
between themselves.
Right. For audience members. I did a few through the Playwrights Center, and that's kind of how they did it. It was listen to these people talk, and then you can ask questions and hear them talk some more. And it's brilliant. It's so good. And honestly, all of the ones that I went to, which were like 2, but I felt so hopeful leaving about theater. And because it's so kind of scary right now, especially for graduating seniors to enter the world as it is. But there are some really smart people who are doing really smart things and have really inspiring things to say. And so this will be one of them tomorrow night.
Another update reminder for you is that the BA auditions are starting this week and next week. So Men on Boats will be today and tomorrow, and Hekiba will be next week. Also, you should have gotten the season selection submissions form by now. So what are you guys going to submit for plays? We really want to see them. Kira and I are both on the committee. We want to read good ones. They're looking for... I don't have the whole list in front of me, but they're looking for comedies, new musicals. We're also hoping to center voices, BIPOC voices, LGBTQIA plus voices, stories with people with disabilities. Like we want to do like Jubilee, but even more radical. So send them, please.
Absolutely. And it's really crazy. It's really up to whoever submits these shows that end up, kind of what we're doing next season. So really be on top of it. If there's something that you are kind of bummed about missing out on for your time here, send it in, because that's how it'll get done for sure.
And I was always so intimidated whenever those forums came out. Like I was like, I don't know a play that's like good enough but like just send it in. Like the worst thing that could happen is we go no, and I don't think we know who submitted them, so I'm not gonna be like, oh, Kira chose that play. Okay. Like
Kira wants to do Hadestown. What?
Okay, low-key, I want to do Fun Home so bad. Right? I think that would be so good because it's mental health and a new musical and queer. Like
and just great and just incredible
and amazing.
And impactful, All right. Well, we'll know when we're looking through the musicals.
When you see Fun Home in there,
game for Rachel. Great. Or me. Maybe you'll never know. Maybe I'll do it for you.
We double submit, and they're like, wow, there's a lot of interest in Fun Home.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's it. Everyone submit Fun Home. No, just kidding. Something else we wanted to let you know about. This is so exciting. We were talking to Telvin, and he informed us. He informed us that there is a new docuseries coming to Netflix. It'll be here on October 23rd, so a few days from now. But it is a dance docuseries, and it revolves around 5 or 6 different companies from each of these countries. But the first episode starts in America with John Boog's and Little Buck's company, Movement Art Is, and Telvin's in it. He's in the episode on Netflix. And we were talking, and I can't remember if this is the second time Telvin's been on Netflix.
I feel like somebody's told me that Telvin was like somewhere on Netflix already. So
okay, Telvin, if you're listening.
Telvin's going to listen to us, and at the next meeting, he's going to be like, "Guys, what? Just ask me."
But yes, and actually currently Telvin is working with Little Buck on a project. They are working on a show that is set to run at the Apollo Theater next year. They were set to premiere this year until, these unprecedented times. So, but for real, I watched the trailer last night also, and I cried actual tears because it's so beautiful. It's so incredible. It's so incredible. And I just can't wait. I really can't wait. Check out the trailer. It's really gorgeous. Move on Netflix. The trailer's up on Netflix if you have that. Otherwise, it's on Little Buck's Instagram if you don't have Netflix. So easy access.
If you all remember from last week, we talked about Madeline Wall's new play, I With Things Newborn, and she and Renee are here, kind of, to talk about it to you now.
I already said I was ashamed. I told the friar when he came to see me, I confessed.
There was a friar here?
No, down in the hall where they were holding me before the officer brought me here.
I don't understand why
I'm saying that the moralizing, I've heard it. And the monastic bullshit, I don't need it. I don't need eyes on me. I'm in labor.
I know. I'm here to help.
Oh, a nun. That's perfect. Give me something to bite on. I will squat in the corner. You can go. I don't hate myself. Are you going to chain me to the bed?
No, Juliet.
You're a nun. I'm a fornicatress.
You're in pain. I'm a midwife.
I'd be dead if it weren't for this. My Claudio will be dead tomorrow because of this. The city is my body. Everything that's wrong in the city is my body. That's why I'm in this tiny room without windows, right? You're looking at me. Isn't there bile rising in your throat?
Thank you so much, Madeline and Renee, for that gorgeous sneak peek. Oh my gosh. So I Would Think's Newborn, just as a reminder, opens October 30th and closes November 8th. And you can get your tickets through Eventbrite now, today, through the Facebook link in our show notes. And just a reminder, too, that the audience capacity for the in-person performances, the show will also be live streamed for you virtually if you're interested in that. But the in-person audience capacity will be capped at 10 people. So you'll just want to make sure to get on that right away. So for our interview this week, we are blessed with the presence of Victor Zupanc. And woot woot, Rachel has worked with him and knows him pretty well.
Yeah, so Victor Zupanc, he's this amazing composer, sound designer in Twin Cities. So Victor was born in Victoria, Canada, and began his musical career studying violin and piano at the age of 6 at the Royal Conservatory of Music in Victoria, British Columbia. After receiving his Bachelor degree of Music at the University of Victoria, he went on to earn his Master's degree in Music Composition at the University of California in San Diego. Since then, Victor has been one of the most prolific theater artists in America, involved in nearly 300 theatrical productions as a composer, musical director, sound designer, and performer. Basically, if it's kind of related to music or sound, Victor has done it. So some of these theaters that he worked at include the Berkeley Academy of Music, SITI Company, Playwrights Horizon, the Joyce Theater, the Acting Company, and the New Victory Theater. In Minneapolis, he's worked at the Guthrie, the Mixed Blood Theater, as well as the San Diego Repertory Theatre, the La Jolla Playhouse, the Missouri Rep, the Berkeley Rep, and the Kennedy Center, among many others. And since 1989, he has held the position of resident music director / composer at the Tony Award-winning Children's Theater Company of Minneapolis.
The Kennedy Center, that's kind of a big deal. Wow. We're so pumped to speak with Victor. All right, give him a huge welcome. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, Victor.
Victor, hello.
Kira, Rachel, holy cow.
Well,
How
thanks
are you guys
again.
doing? Yeah, my pleasure.
We're doing great. It's been kind of a wild semester for sure.
Yeah, I bet.
Right. I mean, as you know too, with CTC going online this summer and everything happening kind of over Zoom's the buzzword now, huh?
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. Yeah, all of life revolves around this now. It's nuts. I don't like it.
No.
What are you up to this week, today? Have you had a good day?
Yeah, I've been working on, right now I'm doing a series of radio plays with a group, a theater company called Theater 55. And they're fairly new company in town. And they do all of their shows. All the actors are over 55, so that's their deal. And they're giving a vehicle, a venue for people who are older, who are not necessarily actors, they're doctors, lawyers, whatever.
Wow.
And, a lot of them took theater in school or just enjoy it, and they're in the later years and looking for things to do. So it's a very cool company. So they've done 3 or 4 plays now, and they were just about to open Urinetown when they had to cancel it, when all of this came down. And so they've been looking for ways to continue and do something, and they thought radio plays. So they are doing that, and they're going in with Hennepin Theater Trust downtown, the folks who own the Orpheum and the State and the Pantages, and they're given a space, and we're doing these. So we're actually doing them live, but there's no audience. We're in the space. It's a huge space, and everyone's 10 feet apart, and it's all wired, and then it gets broadcast live, and then as well recorded, for later viewings. So I have a rehearsal tonight. Each one of these plays has had just 2 rehearsals, and then we go in and we do it. And
Wow.
It's been fun. I have they also involved a high school program through what do they call it?
Is it Spotlight?
Spotlight. Thank you. God, I just couldn't think of that. So through Spotlight, and I did some workshops and master class of Foley art, and that's and then ended up with one high school student who was interested in helping out on this. So she's been with me for all 3 of these radio plays, and she and I do all the Foley. I figure it all out and script it all out and score it, and then send it to her, and we do these 2 Zoom rehearsals, and then she and I meet about an hour and a half earlier on the day we do it on Saturdays, and then we work it out, and we do it, and we're having a blast. It's really kind of fun. So I was today. It was all about that and making sure I'm all set with those sound effects, and I have a huge stack of stuff in the next room, crash boxes and just things, that to make sounds. So I have to put off on buying the produce, because the best punches, these are all crime dramas, so there's always punches and gunshots, and the best punches I've found is to get a whole a bunch of celery stalks that are all still connected, the whole big thing, and then a head of lettuce, and you smack that lettuce with this thing, and it's perfect. That's the sound of a punch. So
wow.
Now I have made the mistake of, being ready and buying all that stuff 3 or 4 days in advance. And then we get to that day and it's like, oh, it's all rotten. Dang, gotta go to the store. So I have to buy that stuff the morning of.
Shoot. Victor, what is the craziest or most unique thing that you've used for Foley sound?
Ooh, the weirdest, craziest. They're all kind of weird and crazy. Like I said, using celery stalks on a head of lettuce. They're all fun. I've had to gather. The last one we did, there's always a lot of footsteps. That one works great, because it's just an audio thing, and so you can hear footsteps really well. But we've had to do footsteps on gravel, so I've had to fill big containers full of pebble-sized gravel, so we get that sound when we're walking on that. I did come up with one recently, because also this guy, it's the Philip Marlowe detective series, and they're written by Raymond Chandler. Back in the 30s and 40s, Raymond Chandler wrote probably the most famous detective books. It was always Philip Marlowe detective, and so he has, so in every episode, he's always after his glass of scotch, and somewhere, 2 or 3 times in every episode, there's, pouring a glass of scotch, the ice first and then the scotch. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to use ice because it'll melt. So, so I played around with a lot of different things, and I found, I actually still have little mini light bulb that fits in a table lamp. And if I put just enough, this much water in the bottom of a glass, this doesn't just crash in there and break. It sort of hits the water and bounces around a little bit. Totally sounds like ice. And then, and then I'll just have a water bottle and pour more water into it. So you hear that, and you hear this clink along the sides of the glass. Sounds like ice in a glass. It's kind of perfect.
Brilliant. Wow.
So it's just, it's all about experimenting and seeing what works. And since I've worked in the theater for so many years, I have found out a lot of those things and what makes good sounds. And you do have to get pretty inventive with things like that too. Sword fights. It's like, well, okay, I don't have swords. Am I going to use swords? I play with a lot of things, and I finally found that, I pulled a couple of trowels out from my garage for doing plaster work on walls. And those were the perfect sound. I got one that's longer, just a metal trowel, and then one that's, pretty short. It's just like a little triangular shaped one like this. And I would hold one and just, zing this one along the edge of that. And it was the perfect sound, and then for the whooshing of swords, I just went and got a big long stick out of my yard. And I've also found, and I love doing this, I'm just finding using voice. I use my voice for a lot of things. You can, the voice is the most flexible instrument on the planet. So I do use my voice for a lot of sounds. Probably the most interesting one that people get a kick out of is, and I've done this live. Actually, Rachel, you were probably there. You were there for Snow White? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doing, the flock of birds.
Oh, yeah.
That flies, it's supposed to be a big flock of birds that flies away. So I'm like, and that's the flock of birds. And when you get right into a mic, and then, we added a little bit of a little echo, a little delay and reverb on that. So it really just sounded like hundreds of birds. But, you can use, in one of these radio plays we just did, they crack open a new bottle of scotch, and it says, the sound of a cork being popped, and that's easy.
Yeah.
And then pouring and the ice in the glass. And so it is fun. Drips, I've perfected this one, except I haven't done this in a while.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
Holy smokes. And that's just like nothing, no, just your voice. I just had to clarify for everyone listening that was actually just
hitting the fleshy part of the cheek, and then pushing the air out with your tongue. You can actually, if I slowly blow air out of my mouth and move my tongue back and forth really quick, you kind of hear that. So it's just using that, and it's just one push. It even works on the bottom of the neck.
I need to start practicing that.
See? All sorts of fun stuff. So, that's Foley world. It is a lot of fun to do, and I've had the pleasure of being able to do it a bunch in theater, which I love, because, a lot of shows, and more over the last years, as budgets get smaller and theaters still want to put on stuff, you can't hire a million people anymore. And so a the show that Rachel was helping with, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, for 2 actors and 1 musician.
Incredible.
That was it. 1 actor playing all 7 dwarves at the same time. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was really,
Wow.
that was cool.
Who was the actor who did that?
Dean Holt.
Oh, of course. That's, yeah.
Yeah. It was Dean and Joy.
Joy Dolo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. And Joy Dolo, Dean, they both played a ton of roles, but Dean was kind of the one who did all of the dwarves, because Joy mostly did Snow White and the wicked queen, wicked stepmother, and Dean mostly did all of the dwarves. But there was one scene at the end when Dean is playing all 7 dwarves and the wicked stepmother as the dwarves are beating up the stepmother, and he was all of them at the same time. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was really jaw-dropping. It was pretty incredible. And Joy was doing the same sort of stuff. They're both amazing. And I provided all of the music and all of the sound effects. So there was just me. There was nothing recorded. Going into the project, I had said that. I'm like, well, look, I'm not going to create stuff to play back, because that's not what this is like, what it's about. It's about this live experience. So it was a lot of fun figuring out all that stuff, creating all the different sound effects, and gosh, I don't know how many instruments I had, 15, 20 instruments, from whistles and flutes to accordion, guitar, violin, musical saw, I don't know what else. I mean, there was just a ton of stuff, and I was surrounded. Lots of drums. I would play. A lot of times I had both feet going. One foot was playing a drum, the other foot is playing a tambourine. I've got an accordion, and I've got a kazoo or something, and I've got everything going at once. And
Wow.
and it just makes it more fun for me too. I mean, the audiences love it, and I'd much rather do that than hit go on a playback machine.
For people who might not understand like what it means to be a sound designer or a composer or both, like, could you just talk a little bit about like how you're involved in the process?
Well, it's how am I involved? I mean, most productions want sound or music. Some don't. I mean, I was involved in one a few years ago, and it was a Tony Kushner play. It was a new thing, and it involved 4 actors, and I had created a lot of music for it. And this, it was cool. Director loved it. We loved it. We started playing around with it in the rehearsals, and both of us realizing, it's too much. It's too much. No, it gets in the way. And it ended up, after all of that work, that at the end of every scene, there was 8 or 9, 10 different scenes. And at the end of every scene, there was just a bell. They just went ding, and it ended the scene, and they went into another one. And that was it. That was the sound design, for the whole thing. It was like, ended up being 10 bell cues. So you never know, and you really have to study the play. You have to read the script backwards and forwards, many times to really figure out what it's going to be. And then, the discussions with the director and the other designers, because you also don't know. I mean, I've done Shakespeare that is kind of authentic, and it takes place in the 1400s in England. And then, the same play where it takes place in Nazi-occupied Paris in the 1940s, and it's Parisian jazz from that time. So you don't know. But once you do know that, then it's really all about research and trying to figure out, how true to the time and place you want to be. Sometimes you don't. I mean, sometimes that doesn't matter, and you create some kind of a contemporary score that that helps tell the story. And that's the one thing I'm always stress with people getting into the field, just to say, the most important thing is to understand that you're helping to tell a story. And everything I do has to help tell the story. So the Tony Kushner play, was a perfect example. I mean, everything I was putting in, which we thought in the beginning was awesome, but then as we started working with it, it was like it was taking us out of the story. It wasn't where the story was leading. And in the end, we really realized the words here are telling the story, and we cannot mess with it. Other times, you're getting really heavy with the music because you really need to support, but it's all about the support, and it's all about the storytelling, no matter what it is you're doing. So, every play is different. That's why I work in the theater. They're all different. Every show is different. Every story is different. Even, I've done Romeo and Juliet, a bunch now at different theaters, at the Guthrie, at the Children's Theater, at other theaters in California, the acting company in New York, and they're vastly different every production. So you can't really even rely on something you did in the past. Although, I mean, it's another thing I always teach young people: don't ever throw anything away that you've created. So again, back to the Tony Kushner thing, where I had all this music. I have it all. I mean, it's fantastic, and I don't know if I'll ever use it again, but I know where it is, and that's happened many times where I've had to, I've been stuck on something, and it's like I can't figure out what I'm doing here. I've tried 2, 3, 5, 10 things. And then something clicks in the back of my mind. I think, I did this thing for some show years ago. The hardest part is remembering the titles. What show was that? And then finding the stuff. And sometimes I have pulled things and went, this is perfect. So I never throw anything away. And because if you created something, it's there, it's created, it's yours. I can use it. I don't have to pay anybody for the rights. I can steal from myself. I can plagiarize myself, no problem. So it reminds me of it's a little bit off the subject, but one of my favorite quotes of Stravinsky, who said, "Good composers borrow, great composers steal." And he's so right on, because really there's nothing new. I mean, I'm pretty convinced there's no new music. Everything has been done. There's only 12 freaking notes, and they've been used in every combination you can imagine. They've been used, and they've been twisted and pulled, and we've gone beyond those 12 notes and made 24 pitches in a scale, or 36, and everything's been done. There's nothing new, and the trick is, how do you make something new? How do you take what has been there for hundreds or thousands of years and make it new? And people are doing that all the time. But there's a lot of music. I just read a statistic that blew my mind the other day. It was they were talking about Spotify, and Spotify, they put out, gosh, what was the number? Something like, I can't remember now, 28,000 songs a day. New songs a day. Yeah, it came to like hundreds of thousands of songs a year that come out. I'm thinking, what? who are these people? Who's doing that? And that's a daily thing. You know, I'd love to find that number again, because it blew my mind. I had no idea.
That's insane.
It's
Wow.
really insane. So yeah. So the trick is, how do you make something new? You know, how do you make something fresh? And like I said, people are definitely doing that. I hear things all the time, and I think, God, I've never heard anyone do that. You know, so.
That's so neat. That's so resonant too. I have a book about, it's like a small, there's a lot of illustrations, but it's a book about originality, and that it doesn't really exist. That creativity is, right, undetected plagiarism from a lot of sources. And they have this lovely idea in there that, you know, we need to hear the same things over and over again, because it takes a while to actually listen, you know, to things that need to be said more than once, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, how many times have anybody, you know, you listen to the same thing, you know, 2 times, 10 times, and you hear things, I'd never heard that before. Or movies or books. I mean, gosh, you know, reading a book a second or third time, and my God, I don't remember this part, you know, this happened. So yeah, I mean, things do reveal themselves, and you know, there's so many layers in everything. It's like an onion, you know, and you know, you peel those layers off, and you keep discovering new things. But it's always been there. It's, you know, that's always been the thing. It's been there. It's never changed. But you can discover new things and create new things out of something that existed. I love to cook, and so it's like, same thing, you know. I mean, I might start with a recipe, but then it's like, oh, I should do this instead. I'm going to add some of this. I'm going to add some of this. You know, you can start with something that's there, but the fun is taking it somewhere new.
Do you ever find that in some of these pieces that you come back to after a long time, that there are things that surprised you about it, or Easter eggs that you didn't realize you put in there, with even your own work that you created?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I'll listen to things and have, you know, I'll have feelings on both ends of the spectrum. You know, sometimes I'll listen to something from a long time ago and think, wow, it's really good. I don't really remember doing this, but that was pretty advanced for me as a, you know, 26-year-old. And then, and sometimes I'll listen to things and go, ooh, I wrote that? I hope no one ever heard that. That sucks. So, you know, but that's also, as human beings, we change as well, you know? And so, you know, and I could listen to that piece that I just hate now in 10 years from now and go, actually, I really like this one, you know? So, you know, we're always changing. I mean, the winds, the times they are a-changin', to quote some famous Minnesotan. So yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, and I also learn, you know, I make a habit of listening to my music, you know, and it's not at all out of vain or any kind of vanity, or, you know, it's just, you do learn stuff. And you know, and I tell that to young people. I mean, don't be afraid to listen to your music. I mean, I've worked with professionals who've been doing it for many years, who say, you know, oh, I hate listening to my music. And my response is, well, why did you write it? I mean, I write music because I love music and I love what I write, and I'm writing something that I want to write, that's coming from here and from here, and I love the music that I write. So I love listening to it. And, you know, if I don't want to write it, I won't write it. You know, if I don't want to listen to it. And I do learn from listening to things over and over again. You know, and it's not to say I sit down every day and listen to my music, maybe but from time to time I will, and I do learn from that. We should all, learn from our own successes, our own mistakes, our own thoughts. I mean, we're also, as we change and as we get older, we evolve in certain ways that, I mean, I know for myself where I've sort of forgotten my youth, and I've forgotten how I felt when I was in my 20s. What were those things? How did I feel? Why did I feel those ways? And how did I feel that many, many years ago? And it's many years ago now. So, sometimes I want to revisit those things just to try and feel that again and go, I do remember, I remember why I wrote this and what I was feeling when I wrote this. And it's good to remind ourselves that, we were all youthful, we were all 5 years old, we were all 15, we were all 20, and we shouldn't forget that, otherwise we just become stodgy old farts. I don't want to be that guy.
I'm curious about how are designers and technicians staying busy right now without
Well, it's really hard. I mean, talk about something new. I mean, I've never experienced this in my life. And I think a lot of my colleagues can say the same thing. And, I've worked out of New York a lot, and I know a lot of people there who are in the same boat. And I mean, there's no work in New York. There's no work in Minneapolis. There's no work in Des Moines, Iowa. It's gone. and the scary part is we don't know when or if it will return. I mean, I know theaters now are deep in discussions and debates about what will it be when we come back, because it's not going to be what it was. That's almost a given now. I mean, people are saying it's not going to be that. So what can it be? What will it be? And nobody knows, so it's really hard. I mean, technicians, there's little bits of work here and there. It's like these radio plays that I picked up. That was nice. One thing that I'm doing that I haven't done in a long time, but I love doing and I'm enjoying. But even that, now that winter's coming, is going to slow down. But I've just started playing gigs again, doing solo shows where I'm singing, Billy Joel and Elton John and Stevie Wonder songs and jazz tunes, and playing out my guitar and doing Neil Young songs. And, and I used to, when I was in college and grad school and high school, I did that all the time. I mean, I would play 2 or 3 nights a week in restaurants and bars. And so I had all of that in my back pocket, but it's been 30 years since I've done anything like that at all. So I've pulled out all that stuff, and I've sat down and I've created a real slick demo video, but because I'm not out gigging. So with cameras and real nice audio, and I've learned some, I've actually learned some video techniques that I never thought I would ever do, because I don't have to, and there's no need for it. But now, I bought some, video software, and I'm doing, dissolves from one song to another, and all these and little video effects and stuff, so that I can get, a dozen excerpts of songs packed into 5 or 6 minutes, to send to people. And I'm getting gigs to do that stuff. So, I have that. And that's, I mean, fortunately for myself, and I do urge this with young artists I'm always saying, just learn as many different aspects of your field as you can. For someone working in theater, I think you should be taking sound design classes, set design classes, lighting classes, dance classes, take some acting, take some directing, know it all. If you're a musician, learn as many instruments as possible. So and the instruments, I mean, that stuff's come naturally to me because I've been doing it my whole life, but it's really, really helped me in my career because I can play the guitar, I can play the accordion, I can play the keyboards, I can play the harmonica, I can play the flute, I can play the violin. So if it's a bluegrass thing, I'll do the bluegrass thing. If it's classical, I'll do the and so it can only help, and not least of which, it just makes you smarter. You just makes your brain bigger. You're learning more things. It's like learning multiple languages. If you have the facility for that, keep learning languages. You're just a smarter person, and it'll make you more viable in the workplace. If you know 5 languages, you probably have a job waiting for you somewhere. With the State Department or something. It's like you just get smarter. So there are things out there for artists, but not a lot. A lot more things sort of going to these digital platforms and doing things via Zoom, trying to figure out how to exploit that and create things like the radio plays. But yeah, I don't know. It's a big mystery. It's very sad. It makes me really, really sad because, I'm actually much sadder for a lot of my colleagues who are much younger than me. I've been doing this for such a long time that I have, my tentacles reach far and wide around the country for, the 40 years that I've been doing this. And so there's a lot of connections, and I keep thinking, well, I'm not too worried because things will keep coming, and they do. Every week I get an email, can you do this, or a phone call or whatever. Is are you available to? Yeah, are you available? It's like yes, So I'm not really worried, but I'm worried sick for people who are in their 20s and 30s who haven't been doing it for a long time, and that's all they've done, and now it's gone. And they don't have that, and it breaks my heart, for some of these friends of mine who, don't have other things, So it's a bummer. This whole thing's a big bummer.
Yeah, it's kind of daunting a little bit to be entering the theater world. As it is now. Especially as, a young green person who's still trying to learn it as it was, regardless, much less how it is now. And, we don't really know, but to kind of ground ourselves, hopefully in this moment, we have kind of a melodramatic question for you that we ask all of our guests. And it's a 2-word question, and it's why theater?
Why theater? When theater was never on my radar as a kid. I got to grad school, and I think I'd been to 2 plays in my life. And I got to grad school, and I was at UC San Diego in La Jolla, which had, one of the top music composition departments in the world. And as I found out, one of the best theater departments in the country. And so I happen to be there. I'm working on my music degree, and people from the theater department would come over to the music department to ask if there was anyone interested in making music for a play. And I was one of the very few who said, yeah, sure. Most of the students there, and again, this is getting back to what I was saying before about, doing as many things as possible. I was amazed that most students would go, no, theater. I make music. I'm serious. I'm a serious composer,
Ooh,
and it's like, why not? So I started doing that, and I fell in love with the theater right away. I started doing all these plays. I started seeing firsthand the work ethic of people in theater. And there was one big event that I've never forgotten that really sort of turned me and made me go down the road of theater. They had asked me to be the musical director for and do orchestrations for a musical. It was Oh, What a Lovely War. It's a British musical from the 60s. And it was a cool musical, really cool music. I had to gather up musicians from the theater department, or from the music department. It got about 6 or 7 people, and then did the orchestrations and wrote for them. They committed to doing it. And then it came time to, and I'd been in these rehearsals with the actors, 5 or 6 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a day, every day, that kind of a schedule. And I thought, man, I've never worked like this, on anything. This was completely new, and I loved it. It was just feeding off of that, and I was writing my own music for it, and creating things and changing things because I was in there. And then I had to have a few rehearsals with the musicians, and I got them all together and said, okay, I have a schedule here that I'm looking at. I'd like to have like 5 rehearsals. And they all looked at me in horror going, 5 rehearsals? What for? I'm like, well, because I want to get it right. You don't need to have that many rehearsals. And I remember looking at them, I got really angry, and I said, what is the matter with you people? I've been rehearsing with these actors 5 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a day for 6 weeks now. You guys are freaking morons. I do not want to work with you anymore. I'm going to work in the theater. And that was it. I mean, I was so turned off by that. I couldn't believe it. It really turned me off that they were bitching about having 4 or 5 rehearsals when I had done all of that. And I thought, yeah, this tells me something. This tells me where I want to be and the people I want to be with who really, now, of course, there were students and, sort of had something in their head about whatever. And I know a zillion musicians who are serious musicians, and they do work 8 hours a day on their music. So this is not a knock on, on general musicians, but at that time, that event really opened my eyes to what the theater was and the dedication in the theater. And that's what did it. And I never, ever regretted that. I've had so many amazing experiences that have changed my life, and over 300 plays now, and every single one is just as fresh as the last one. It's like I keep learning and growing. So it spoke to me. It went deep down into my heart, and that's what I've done ever since.
Wow, thank you so much for those gifts of words. I don't know, I just got teary-eyed hearing you. And I think, yeah, we all miss it and can't wait for it to be back as it, will look like, how it will look like.
We'll see. Well, we'll cross our fingers and hope that vaccine is around the corner, and hope we can get it distributed, because I don't think anything's happening until there's a vaccine. I just keep saying we're not going to convince 800 people to sit in a theater shoulder to shoulder until they know it's safe, until they know we're all safe. And so, I don't know. I'll just keep living down here in my little studio and make things. I have been very, very productive. I have not turned off the spigot. So I've written a couple orchestra pieces and a bunch of songs, and I just keep posting songs, just pop songs, to Facebook. And I've never been a Facebook person ever in my life, but the last 5 months I have. I keep posting just fun things, songs, all musical things, and sending my orchestra pieces off I've actually gotten a couple of nice offers for, but they're always saying, well, no, we'll pay you for this piece, but we can't tell you when it's going to be done, when or where. But, so I just keep writing. Got to keep doing that. I mean, the biggest lesson I ever learned was my very first composition teacher when I was in undergraduate school yet. I think it was my third year, and I had a very prominent composer. This was in Canada. Rudolf Komaros was his name. He was from Czechoslovakia. And he said, if you want to be a composer, you have to write something every day of your life. He said, you can't miss a day. He said, it doesn't matter what you write. It can be 2 notes. It can be a symphony. It can be anything. But you have to write something every single day. And I think I've done that, and that it just keeps me alive. It's like air or water, and sometimes it is just something piddly, but I do something every day, and that's not going to stop. So I just hope sometime soon people can start paying me to do it again.
Right. Exactly. Gosh, we'll have a great rehearsal tonight.
Thanks. Yeah, it'll be fun. And then I've got to watch a couple baseball games because that's my other passion.
Yeah.
I'm a huge baseball fan. It's like music and baseball. And we're down to the wire now. 4 teams left. The World Series is soon. So.
Okay. Is it looking good? How are your teams?
Well, all my teams are out, but
Okay.
You pick up other teams. I'm loving the Tampa Bay Rays right now because they have no stars on their team. They're the lowest payroll in the league. They're just like, where did they come from and why are they beating everybody? And they're amazing. So they're my new favorite team right now, and I'm just loving them because for all those reasons. It's like, yeah, the underdog. David is beating up all the Goliaths, beating the Yankees and beating everybody. So I love it.
That's awesome. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. We'll see y'all soon, hopefully.
Yes.
Bye.
Good to see you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Wow. That man is incredible. Holy smokes. 300 plays. 300 plays.
And the water dripping noise?
I wish you could all see what he was doing with his mouth to make that noise. It was kind of incredible. All right, so for our segments this week, we decided that it would be just perfect to do our profile of the week on Little Buck because, wow. So he is an international phenomenon, y'all. So Little Buck began juking. It's a street dance that originated in Memphis at the age of 13 and has since become a star, absolute star. So after receiving his early hip-hop training from Tehran Gary and ballet training on scholarship at the New Ballet Ensemble, he performed and choreographed until relocating in LA in 2009. Since then, he's been named one of Dance Magazine's 25 to Watch, which is a really cool thing. It's like equivalent to the Times, like 100 influential people. This is a crazy thing. But you may have seen him and his impromptu collaboration with Spike Jonze and Yo-Yo Ma, he's a cello player, right?
Yeah, Yo-Yo Ma, okay.
Yeah, and he was performing The Swan, and it went viral in 2011. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's really cool. And Jukin is so beautiful. It's this really glidey form of hip-hop, and it's really hard to explain verbally. Check it out. It's really cool. But so since that video went viral, he's collaborated with a broad spectrum of artists, including JR, Damien Wetzel, the New York City Ballet, Madonna, Benjamin Millepied, and Spike Lee. Buck is an avid arts education advocate, a recipient of the WSJ Innovator Award, and has recently launched a capsule collection with Versace. Yes, please.
Okay.
In 2016, he co-founded with John Boog's Movement Art Is, which is an organization that seeks to inspire and change the world while elevating artistic, educational, and social impact of dance. And Telvin is currently working with him on this show, which is so cool. It's so
Two
crazy.
kings.
Right.
Kings.
Telvin also works with the Camille Brown Company, which is really wild, really awesome. If you also haven't heard of Camille Brown, look her up. She mostly does like concert dance, like social dance, but she also choreographed the revival of Once on This Island, which Michael Arden directed. Yeah. And it's just beautiful. Yeah. All right. So for our student feature of the week, actually, Rachel, can you introduce this one?
Sure. So our student feature of the week is Remy Middleton. Hopefully you all have had the chance to meet Remy because she is an absolute light. She does a lot of stage management. She was an ASM for Skriker and Denim. And she also does scenic design work as well. So without further ado, Remy.
Hey everybody, my name is Remy. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am majoring here in the BA with a primary focus on stage management. Something that's always really struck me about this department is how strong the sense of community between the students is. My favorite moment of any class or show I've worked on here is usually the very first one. That moment when you walk into a brand new room with brand new people and everyone's maybe a little quiet or awkward to start, but it really doesn't take long for that to transition into a space of people that are fully committed to collaborating with each other, supporting one another, and just generally being friendly and comforting. I think that transition is a really beautiful thing to watch, and so that first moment of stepping into a project is always really exciting because I know where it's eventually going to land. And I think that sort of security is something that really comes with our strong community in our department, and I think that's a beautiful thing. That sense of community is something that's really driven me to pursue stage management to the degree that I have and why I'm so interested in pursuing it later in my life as a career. I think being a part of a community like that is a really powerful and important thing, and I love that my job description as a stage manager is to be a part of that community focused on uplifting everyone else. I really appreciate knowing that my work is focused on making sure the other artists let their work shine in its best possible form. I take a lot of personal pride in knowing that I was able to contribute to their art in at least some way, and I also hope that I can usually remove some stress hurdles in the process. One of the ways that I find joy in my daily life is by finding something to look forward to. And lately, that has been food. Since we're all home a lot anyways, my roommates and I tend to eat dinner communally most nights, and we all kind of take turns cooking for each other throughout the course of the week. So I get to spend most of my day knowing that it'll be capped off with really lovely food and really lovely company, and that is a really nice feeling. Especially because afterwards we'll generally still continue to hang out, maybe watch a movie or play a board game. And so it just keeps me going at the end of the day where I might be losing steam otherwise. That's about all I've got to say, but thank you very much to the peers for inviting me onto the show today. I'm really grateful for it, and I hope everyone is doing well, and hopefully I'll get to see some of you folks around in classes or around campus.
Thank you so much, Remy. I just can't. She's another person that I can't help but smile when I think of her. Just so great. Okay, so this week we didn't receive any questions from you. So if you do have anything on the brain, let us know and we'll answer it. But we have a question for you. So this is something we were thinking about earlier this week. Has anyone actually ever seen a Tupperware shelf or cabinet that is not a chaotic mess? Like, actually, I'm really curious. Please send us a picture if you do have a Tupperware shelf that is organized how it's supposed to be, because I don't know. Everywhere I've lived, it's not.
No, never.
No.
All right, guys, our closing thoughts for you. Time is running out. This is our last reminder. You have to go vote. You have to.
Mhm.
I've already sent in my absentee ballot. My vote is
Yay.
already in. Please, please, please. Like, this could be like this is probably a lot of our first elections that were big elections that we're voting in. So take advantage of it.
Also, I don't know about you all, but I am definitely going in early to vote because I don't want to wait in line on the 3rd for 3 hours. That's also something to consider if you're wanting to just get in and out. I would totally recommend going in early. There are a few sites open right now. Hennepin County Center is one of them. Just head on over. It's right on the light rail trajectory towards downtown.
And you never know, like, what may come up on November 3rd. Like, may as well get it out of the way and not leave like anything up to chance. Just like do it. Just do it.
Just do it. Just vote.
Just vote.
Beautiful. All right. Well, Rachel has some really super wise words for us. In addition to everything she's already given us this episode. Rachel, take it away, girl.
Hi, y'all. Hello again. So my wise words for this week is I wanted to share this mindfulness grounding technique I do sometimes. And it's really easy. So you just want to listen to the sounds around you, which sounds kind of silly, but I really like this because you don't have to just be like sitting still. You can do it while you're like walking to class. So if you're like walking somewhere and you have like a big test or something coming up and you're really stressed out, as you're walking, you can just like listen to what's going on around you and be like, oh, like this is what my footsteps sound like as I'm walking down the road, or these are what the cars sound like driving past me, or this is how the wind sounds going through the leaves. And I think just really taking like clearing your mind just to listen to like what's going on around you can be like a really good way of like placing you back in like the world and like your environment. So yeah, give it a try sometimes. It's so easy and really helps me when I'm feeling really stressed. So yeah, have a good week.
This episode of the Purecast is edited by Rachel Breeze, programmed by Hunter Batterson and Caitlin McLean, and our music is composed by Raymond New.
Hey y'all. So your boy was so sick. I really tried. I really tried to be like, oh, I'll just send in a quick little recording so that they can know I'm still there and just hear this. Kids, don't worry. It's all good. From your favorite host, Jeune. you know, y'all, I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous, but I don't know who that man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street and I wouldn't know a thing. I'm sorry to that man, but that was not me. That is an imposter. That's all I have to say on that. But I'm all good now, y'all. Hope y'all have a nice day.